Let's talk about the vice president of the United States. First, just a little history. Kristen, who's the most fun vice president that you can think of in American history? Who would you say is the most fun?
Oh goodness. I don't know. I think Bush 41 was a lot more fun than people think. Just
Yeah,
hearing stories about him, I think he was a
yeah,
prankster and just had a good amount of
yeah,
time. I think Dick Cheney was a lot more fun than people think, but I'm sure
yeah,
Biden was actually
yeah.
lots of fun unintentionally.
All right, it's a good list. Uh, Bush 41 liked to tell what we call in Kenny Bunkport off-color jokes. He liked really the kind of jokes that like if one of your parents told you, you'd be like, what's up with that? Congressman, who would you say is the most fun vice president of all
I'd
time?
be hard pressed. I mean, I'm thinking back right now. And it's a tie between no one.
Yeah, nobody comes to
But
mind. Well,
yeah,
well, it
yeah.
turns out there's a new nominee. There's a new nominee, and it's someone self-nominating. Please roll that tape. Nope, sorry, not that. Looking for the video.
I will say I took special note of one thing that she said, though. Kelly said that I'm the coolest vice president in
Coolest,
American
I got it
history. And
wrong.
I said, Kelly, that is a low standard.
All right, I
That
blew
is
the
a
whole thing.
very low
thought it was-
bar, but I do
thought it was
think that-
funniest, but it's coolest. All right, is he the coolest vice president? Kristen, you buy that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not very cool, so I shouldn't
Yeah.
judge who's
All right, Congressman, is he arguably the coolest vice president? He's got a beard.
Yeah, I don't know if you're the coolest. I don't think you have to be telling people that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a award that's given out by self-proclamation.
Yeah, I blew the whole thing. I thought it was fun, most fun, but it's coolest. All right, the vice president was in Wisconsin today, campaigning in the district of a Republican incumbent who's a little bit embattled, one of the targeted races in the state, and he was, on message for very much derivative of the president's State of the Union. Here's the vice president saying that the State of the Union showed you can't put Democrats back in power. Number 16, please.
About the stakes coming up in November, because it feels like this election in November is very far away. But if anything, the State of the Union should have showed us that we cannot give power back to congressional Democrats. Now, I am fundamentally an optimist about this country. I believe most people, most human beings, most American citizens, whether they got a D next to their name or an R next to their name, or they have no political affiliation, they're good people. They love our country. They want our country to thrive and prosper. But I got to tell you, after the State of the Union, I'm not so sure that is true of the congressional Democrats that we saw at the State of the Union address. As the President of the United States said very well, you watch their reaction to some of what he was saying, and all I could think was, these people are kind of crazy. These congressional Democrats, if you think about all of the things that they were doing, and I got to tell you, of course, I've got the best seat in the House in many ways, right? I'm sitting right next to the Speaker of the House. I'm sitting right behind the President of the United States. And I've got one internal monologue going on, one thought in my head the whole time, which is don't make a stupid face for 2 hours, which is hard for me, when you're on TV for 2 hours and the Democrats are doing crazy things. So I'll give you a little lay of the land. So to the left, my left, is all of the Republicans, okay, because I'm sitting right behind the president. And to my right is some Republicans, but mostly the Democrats. And so I see the reaction of all the congressional Democrats, and it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. So you say, like, for example, you had this beautiful little girl, had such a sweet moment with her dad. You may have remembered. She was probably 6 years old. She had been assaulted by an illegal immigrant. She had had a very bad, I think, medical prognosis, but it turned out that she was okay. This 6-year-old girl hurt by a human being who never should have been in this country in the first place, who was led into this country by Joe Biden and the Democrats, and she's hugging her dad, and she's so excited, and you can tell, and I think everybody's heart feels very, you get that warm and fuzzy feeling, and then I look over at the congressional Democrats, and they're just scowling. They cannot clap their hands for a 6-year-old who survived an attack from an illegal alien. What is that? What kind of a person can't stand up and cheer for an innocent young girl who's doing well, who's showing the entire country strength and resilience?
Okay. Kristen, if he came off the stage and said, Kristen, give me some notes. How can I do better? What notes would you give him?
When you go into a district, it's such a huge moment for that candidate, that incumbent, to have the vice president there to get all those eyes on their race, to get them that earned media, I would have recommended, let's talk more about what they've done for their district. So what have they specifically brought back to the district to show that they're a good member of Congress, not just because they're part of this national ping pong game of standing and clapping and frowning and crazy and not crazy, but they're actually there working hard for you, member of Wisconsin Forward too. I forget which district it was. So I think the big opening there that I would have liked to have seen in that speech, there's a little too much on the inside baseball of when Democrats were standing and sitting, and not enough about what the member, or if it was for a candidate challenging an incumbent, I think it was for an incumbent, but what that incumbent is doing for that district. They bring money back for public safety, or did they do something for the there's so many things that these members do that range from big ticket items to just small constituent services. And in a tough midterm election year like this year is going to be for both sides, I don't think there's a clear, this party's going to skate free. Those little things really matter, and that constituent service really matters, and how hard you work for your district. I mean, that stuff could have been displayed on national news for this incumbent who had the vice president there, and I think that was a miss not to really highlight that.
Congressman, since you've been involved in national politics, who are the most formidable stump speech givers the Republican Party have had on offer? Who are the two people you look at and say, man, that guy or that gal, they've really got it?
I think this question is probably better for Kristin. On the stump,
who can you think of who just goes out there and just kills it and knows how to talk to people and hold the crowd and rile them up?
I mean, recently,
In your whole career.
I think Youngin does a decent job of being on the stump.
Yeah. How about George W. Bush? Was he good into your ear?
Yeah, look, I think he was relatable, right? I mean, he wasn't just totally 100% refined and so well polished that it was endearing to some people. So just being able to connect, I think the vice president comes off as almost a little bit too polished, and too prepared to where that authenticity may be lacking.
Some people get in public life, and he's not been in public life for very long, and they get better. Does he seem, Kristin, like a guy to you whose stump speech abilities in 2 or 3 years when he might run for president, that he could improve?
I think he has improved. I mean, I remember when he was in last place in the Ohio Senate race right before Trump endorsed him, and he shot up like a rocket, and he improved overnight. I mean, he is a world away from where he was back in 2022. So, even the worst candidates, and I'm not going to name any of them here, but even the worst ones improve a little bit just by repetition. Yeah. And he's by far in the top. I mean, he's not anywhere close to the worst. So of course he's going to improve. I mean, I think to your point, President Bush, I think if you think back to 2006, which is arguably one of the worst midterms Republicans have had just in my lifetime, he knew when to not go into districts, right? But if he or the vice president at that time went, again, it was not so much the grandiose speech. There was a lot of the, let's do the round table with the businesses and let's make sure we really highlight what that member's doing. I think that's, to your point, the relatability. But no, I think the vice president is going to continue to improve. I think he's already a different person than he was when he won the Senate race in 22, and I expect he'll only get better.
Yeah. His Bush 43 stump speech in the fall of 99 into 2000, I thought was extremely good, amongst the best I've ever seen a Republican give. It's just super tight, and he was consistent. And of course, the reporters all said, "Oh, it's boring. He says the same thing every time." And it's like, yeah, that's what he's supposed to do.
That's the point.
Yeah. Cozy Earth, the good people at Cozy Earth like you all so much. They like you so much. They want to give you 20% off all Cozy Earth products at CozyEarth.com. What they're trying to do is tempt you, as I do on a daily basis, to try their products and see that at the price point they're at and the quality they're at, you, as a Crazy Eddie would say, you'd be crazy not to try these things. Buy the sheets, the bubble cuddle blanket, the towels, the pants. I'm not wearing my Cozy Earth pants today, and I ran into someone who fancies the Cozy Earth pants, and he cross-examined me, and I didn't really have a good answer as why I'm not wearing them, except you can't wear them every day. Then you start to look like obsessive. Anyway, I wear them most days. Go to CozyEarth.com, use the promo code TWOWAY for 20% off everything on the site. And I'll give you your money back if you don't like them. How's that? How's that for a spontaneous host offer? If you buy anything from Cozy Earth under $4,000 and you don't like it, write me an email. I'll give you your money back. CozyEarth.com, promo code 2way for 20% off.
Hey, want to be part of the Two-Way community all the time? Hit the subscribe button. Great video clips like this, plus conversations like no other, full episodes and more, always available on this channel. You got to hit subscribe to never miss a thing.
You can now listen to full episodes of The Morning Meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.